Welcome to Punk Rock Photographer. Today we have Bootsy Holler from Seattle, and she has her latest book out called Making It. And we're just gonna have a cool chat. She's got a book out that basically from 1992 to 2008 covers the punk rock, alternative indie music scene going on in Seattle. And she basically went to shows, photographed these events when digital wasn't a thing. She was out there in the crowds shooting pictures, so that's really cool. She's known for her pictures in Vogue, House and Garden, NPR. She has some collections in the Permanent Grammy Museum. That's pretty cool. She's an avid fan of the Seattle punk rock scene. So
Yeah,
welcome to Punk Rock Photographer. We're glad to have you and glad to share with the audience your awesome book documenting the music scene.
cool. I'm glad to be here
Thank you.
once again.
So your book is out on Damani Books. I checked that out on the website at damanibooks.com. You just got back from Paris Photo, where you
Yes.
did a book signing there, which was really cool. Can you tell us a little bit about your trip?
Yeah, I mean, Paris Photo is the biggest, high-end photography convention in the world, right? So, massive art booths down on the bottom floor of the Grand Palais, and then they had like emerging artists upstairs, and they had the book section. So I was, one of the artists with Damiani Books. So I got to do a signing at Paris Photo, which it is a big deal. And also I got chosen. It's called the Ellis X photo, Paris Photo. And what it is a female curator chooses a curated booths to go to that is all female based. And so I got chosen to be in that group of women curated by this gal. So that was kind of a big deal too.
That's
So
pretty awesome.
feeling good.
Yeah,
Feeling,
that's cool. Did you feel that your pictures were unique compared to the other people that you were in the group with?
I mean, there's super high end, fine art there, right? And I do fine art, a lot of high end fine art, and I feel like, oh, I do just as good a stuff as anybody. It always just has to do with who you know, right? And how long you've been in the business and how successful you are in other ways. I mean, you can be super successful and never really be seen. And that's for sure. I've been working my ass off for years and don't feel like I've ever really been seen. But for the book, going back into my archives to pull all this documentary work out that I did for 15 years in Seattle, and then making the book created something new for me to really push out into the world. And I actually got a PR lady to help me, because Damiani Books didn't, they do some stuff, but they don't really. My PR gal got me magazine articles and interviews and, you know, lots of write-ups. And that's actually was well worth the money that I spent on her.
Getting your book out there to audiences. When you
Yeah.
were documenting your photos at the time, did you feel that this was going to be something that you were going to put out to the public, or were you just out there shooting pictures to share with your friends and bands and
Yeah.
the scene?
I mean, listen, you never know. You never realize when you're in the middle of some kind of thing that what you're doing is could become something in 20 to 25 years. So I definitely was just shooting for myself and my friends. And if some magazines or rags around town wanted images, sure, I would give them photos. But I wasn't making a living off of just shooting music stuff. I was making a living as a photographer doing whatever I could to make a living. Uh, and that's the nice thing about being a photo artist is you can make a living at the same time as being an artist. Unlike a painter, you're either painting houses and then painting fine art on the side. So it's definitely a good skill. But I didn't know. I definitely didn't know. I would have shot a lot more. I would have shot a lot more. But finances are always a thing, especially when you were shooting film.
Yeah, shooting film is a difficult thing to do, especially at live concerts. I couldn't imagine trying to change a role like in between sets and stuff like that. That's, like in the dark. And even then I'm sure they were pretty dimly lit clubs, so it must have
You
been pretty
know,
difficult.
it's like anything. You do it 100 times, 200 times, and you're just like,
Yeah.
you're just, it's habit, it's you feel the film going into the camera, you feel it grab, you cock it, you shut the back, and you knock it out, and you're in there. It's funny, it's still fast, if you know what you're doing. um and I never brought a lot of film with me because I couldn't really afford to be shooting multiple rolls of film, processing it and printing it when I actually didn't even really have a place it was going,
Yeah.
um, or being paid for a job. I was just going there on my own because those were the shows I liked to see, and they were my friends. And so maybe the most I would shoot would be two rolls. So that's two rolls of 36, 72 shots. And a lot of times I was doing experimental stuff. So, um, and doing the experimental stuff, you might end up with nothing, or you end up with like one that really works.
That's where
And
you learn the most, really, is
yeah,
is
and
learning
not
different
having to do
techniques.
it for a job afforded me to play like that. And it didn't matter if I fucked up. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like, or it didn't work, or you're just like, oh, I really only got one, but boy, did that work.
Sometimes
And
just
that's just
that
what
one picture.
happens.
Yeah. The one picture is like, you know, if that's all it takes to capture the emotion, the energy, what you want to express, or what you see as a photographer that you want others to see, it could be just one image out of hundreds,
Yeah.
maybe
I'm pretty,
more so.
I wait, I'm a waiter. I'll wait for the right shot, but I know when you're in the pit at a place where they only give you the beginning three songs, that really sucks because you're all shooting the same stuff.
Yeah, it's
But
difficult.
if you're there for the whole event, like I was in these small venues where nobody's telling you to stop shooting, and you're the only one there. I mean, they're psyched to have a photographer there. Um, you know,
Definitely. I just did a record release at this place called Wild Beer Air and
yeah.
local band, and I was able to capture every part of it, and sometimes when I go to shows, like I like shooting the merch tables and things like that because you don't normally see that, and that's a huge part of the scene. It helps support the bands, and it's just because it's such a DIY community. It's
For
like
sure.
there's all different types of aspects that go on, not just the first three songs and the first 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I get it. Like you get up there and everyone's trying to crowd for that space around the main guy in the band,
Yeah.
or like and you all got to shift over to one side because you want to get the guitar at the right angle, and it's everyone's fighting for that one little niche in between the speakers. And there's some
Yeah.
etiquette there with people moving in and out. If you think you got your shot,
Yeah.
you kind of back up and let the person. And so it's like a between amongst photographers when you're up in the front, there's like this unspoken language that it's like facial connections, nudges, like move over here because you got your camera in your hands, and you
Yeah.
don't want to miss the scene, or you're holding it up above somebody or underneath
Yeah.
somebody's armpit. So it's
I
it's
mean,
a fun
you know,
experience.
I just was not in that type of environment. I was going to a club, and there wasn't a ton of people there. These bands a lot of times were small, and I'm just in a dark, dank little bar,
Yeah,
and I'm just sometimes I would just be sitting on the side of the stage, or literally there could be less than 20 people there, you know?
I'm looking at one of the pictures on the Damani website right now where the artist is like leaning over the crowd and you got the monitor speakers and you guys like leaning into the crowd.
Oh, yeah. That's the catheters. They were fucking amazing. I was gonna see if I could pull that image up for you. I could share it, or you can drop it in later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Brian. He fucking put on a great show every time. That was a tiny little club. I think it was New Year's Eve, and I don't know why he lost his pants. I think he ripped them dancing, and then he just fucking pulled them off, and he's in his underwear. Yeah, that's my favorite. I love that image, and
It is a cool picture. I also like
yeah,
the this other one here that they got where the your book where it lays flat, you got the whole crowd on the rail and everyone's
yeah,
just like looking, up towards the stage.
yeah.
One
That's
guy like leaning in the middle there with the
bumper
sunglasses
shoot.
on.
Yeah, that's Seattle has a big festival every year called Bumbershoot. It's usually like the first weekend of September, and that was between Sonic Youth and Modest Mouse coming on.
Uh,
And uh, I was, in the front area where floating around, and maybe there was a few AP photographers there, but um, I knew the people that do the event, and I asked for a pass. I think REM was playing also later that night, so um I asked for a pass for that day, but I got to see Sonic Youth also, and Modest Mouse. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
yeah.
So I guess getting access to shows like this, you had to build your trust with either the venue or the artist or the people that were in the scene to say, hey, Bootsy, come on out, shoot this band, or was it just that you showed up and kind of gave the
Well,
person,
in the beginning, I was just showing up. I had a boyfriend in a band, so I was a lot of times just walking in the back with them and, shooting a little bit, but not at that point really even calling myself a photographer, even though I've been shooting my whole life, and had a camera my whole life. I didn't necessarily start calling myself a photographer until I was probably 26 years old. And then like literally trying to make a living as a freelance artist. And so I just, it's one of those things that happened very organically, and that just happened to be the people I hung out with, the people that were my friends. And then as you get older, your friends are booking the bands. They're the bouncers at the club, they're the bartenders, they're the managers, they're in the bands. And at some point, I would go out a lot by myself at night, and just like, oh, I want to see this band. They go on at 10:30. So I would like leave my studio at 9:30, get there at 10, see the band I wanted to see, wave to the bouncer. He'd like lift his arm. I just kind of walk in. It's just like I just knew those guys, and it just I'm good to people. People were good to me, and I was just always there. I was part of that same fabric that was running the whole system there. And Seattle's a small place. It really is, especially when you kind of knock it down into just the music scene, like not even like punk versus indie, just the music scene and the shows going on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday versus what might go on a Saturday or Sunday, which might be even more like a dance night so that the club could make money, right? And then they
yeah.
had all these little bands that would play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
I like going to clubs during the week too. I think those are the best times. It doesn't seem like they're such under super amount of pressure to go on, perform, and even after the shows are over, they usually hang out and you get to
Yeah.
talk to them, and
And like you said, they're at the merch
yeah,
table. Yeah.
it's a
It's that
cool
thing where
experience.
they're kind of like up on stage and people kind of, but they're fucking driving the van, they're sleeping in the van, they're loading the equipment, they're selling the shit at the merch table. I mean, it's a grind. It's a
Oh
grind.
yeah, I have a friend that compared music to like modern day entrepreneurship, and
Yep.
I give a lot of credit to these young guys and kids, guys and girls out there that are doing that grind. You know what I mean? They're hitting the road, they're going to places they've never
Yeah.
been before, meeting people. You know what I mean? And they're usually thousands of hundreds of miles away from their home. And they're doing it.
Yeah.
And not only are they taking care of themselves, and they're making sure they're putting music out there. And nowadays, I couldn't even imagine like, this at the speed of which they're doing it, show to show, internets, web posts, pictures,
So much work.
the
It's so
turnaround
much.
time, like even to do photography for a band, it could be a matter of like hours. I mean, sometimes I come home and it's midnight and I'm uploading images to get something out by like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, just to give the band momentum to the next show. And they really appreciate, that, especially us as photographers that are out there doing it, because without other photographers doing
And
it,
digital, now
yeah,
you can do that. Like, when I was, like I said, a lot of the stuff in the book, it's just never been seen.
yeah, that's pretty
Oh,
awesome. I can't wait to get my
and
hands on it.
yeah, because these guys are like, they're coming through town. They don't know me. And they're just gone. They're gone. And I had no way,
Did you when you took your photographs, talk about the time that it took from taking the photograph, getting it out of the camera, maybe developing it, and then actually getting a print. Like the process is nothing like that today.
yeah.
It may take a
Well,
day,
a week
a
easily.
week.
Yeah.
You
So like for me, it's like I would, if I bothered to take the film in the next day, right? So
Yeah,
I had an account at a film place, so I could drop it off anytime. But then that takes 24 hours for them to process it. Then I would get it back. Then I would come home. Then I have to go in the dark room. And a lot of times I want to, if I'm going to go in the dark room, I want to have enough to do so that my chemicals, I can use all my
yeah,
chemicals and not,
waste stuff.
not waste them. And I had a small dark room I had built, and I could do up to a 20 by 24 image if I wanted to.
That's cool.
And that's why I shot mostly black and white, because color was so expensive to print. It wasn't a big deal to process as much, but it was a lot to print. And until during this time, it was when digital was crossing over, celluloid. And, when I bought my first digital camera, I used it mostly for color, and I kept shooting black and white on my Canon AE1, which is what I shot most of my stuff on, with one lens. I just had the 55 or whatever comes on that camera, and and that's all I shot with.
Yeah. When do you think, when did the artists get to see your prints? Like, did they wait till they come around next time they were in town, or did you really ever get them out there?
Many of them never.
Really?
I
Oh, so
mean,
this book is a total surprise to some people when they turn the
yeah,
page.
I can't even find people. I tried.
Yeah,
Uh, I did have to have everybody that I had portraits of. If I didn't have a signed document, I had to get them to sign off. When I would shoot portraiture backstage for the radio station, those people all, I had them sign documents. So like I have an image of Moby, so I already had his signature, so I didn't have to bug him. But if you're in a band photo or live on stage, you don't, you've let go of your rights,
really.
because yeah. So I didn't.
It's a really like a gray area, I think, because it's like the artist making the music and they own the rights to the music, but as a photographer, you kind of own the rights to the image. And I think it's like a courtesy thing that, you know, especially higher end artists, like you really want to, get their approval before you have to hear from their lawyers, I would imagine.
Yeah, I
You
mean, I
know?
don't know how people are doing it these days, but once you're a public figure in the United States, you've let go of your image,
Yeah.
because you're up on stage. And that was another reason I wanted to do the book, was just like so much of this work has just never been seen. And like now I can get prints to people. I can afford to, give them an image that I might not have been able to in the past, unless they hired me for a job like shooting their album art. They probably rarely saw stuff unless they were a band I worked with all the time, and I just had some little 5x7s I would print for them, like maybe a couple images that I thought were cool. I would give to them then.
So
But
let's talk about in making it what is your favorite picture in the book, and maybe one that you didn't think resonated with people, but it stood out.
yeah, well, the one of Emily Haynes from Metric in the green, she's under the fluorescent lights. That's definitely one of my favorites. And I talk about there she is, that green one. And she, I'm taking her into the kitchen that's behind the crocodile. Uh, Seattle they had very strange liquor laws. So the Crocodile Cafe had a banquet room. That's where the bands played, and you were allowed to drink in there, but you had to have food. So then you'd walk out of that room, you would have the cafe, and then to get alcohol poured, you'd have to go all the way to the back. So if you wanted to drink, you had to go in like a C shape to go get your drink and then come back into the music room because of the liquor laws. And so there was a kitchen there. So I didn't have anywhere to shoot a portrait of her. So I took her into the kitchen, and you have like 5 minutes with these people, 10 max. They haven't even gone on stage. You're in their
Getting things
space.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, and I put her up on the table, and there's fucking knives around. She grabbed the knife, and I was like, this is a really slow, and I was on my medium format camera. I was probably shooting on my Hasselblad, and so we're talking square, and I'm just like, hold it, be as still as you can, and I'm leaning against the wall, holding myself, no tripod. I'm sure I shot at a 30th, and it's wide open, and there's a softness to it, but I'm working with fluorescent lighting, and it has a feeling, and to me that's more important than something being perfectly sharp.
Well, it'll resonate with your audience because if they were ever at that particular club, they would
Yeah,
remember all these different aspects, and
yeah.
when you see a picture like that and you're like, I know that room. Like, and
Mhm.
it may not necessarily be visually, but it activates something in your brain to like you remember what the smell was, like what the
Yeah.
temperature was. Like it unlocks
Well,
things
and
that
when you're working with color and you're working with emotions, colors resonate emotions. And so working under fluorescent lighting, which is green, versus working under tungsten lighting, which is yellow, and daylight is blue, you had to deal with all that stuff with film, you know?
yeah.
So I didn't correct my work for, I didn't color correct my work. I used what I had and enhanced it. So the fluorescent lighting is green. I push into that, right? So
More
um,
yellows and blues in that area.
yeah. So, and that's what makes these crazy color shifts and crazy kind of energy through the work,
It pulls out more emotion out of the picture. And then
yeah,
with the connection of the music,
yeah.
becomes like it takes it to another level. I think that's what the cool part about concert photography is because you see the picture, you almost you could hear it, the music through the picture. It's a crazy visual and connection that you establish, And
Yeah. And
like,
I talk a lot in the book about my process shooting film, my process working with the flash, um, things I did experimentally, shooting slides and layering them together and making it look like,
dope.
without Photoshop, it looks like a double image, just all these things that you did to play with stuff that had nothing to do with a computer.
That's awesome. So I know you were definitely involved with the whole process of making this book. And I was checking out the cover and the binding, and it looks really raw and like, I'm I want to not say unfinished, but it's perfectly beautiful the way it is, but it has
Yeah.
this raw edge on it, and
Yes.
the binding looks very interesting. So, can't wait to get my hands on it. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I definitely knew what I wanted. So I had a matte cover. I have a spot gloss on the making it. I have the open spine, which means the book opens up flat. You don't have that little hump, but called the gutter. And then I have cut board, and so over time it will get a little beat up. And I felt like I was had to find a line between DIY, punk, fine art, beauty. Like I wanted to make a really beautiful book, but at the same time, it's rock and roll, or it's DIY. And so for me, I was just trying to mix the two together, to have something that is a piece of art that also could change over time as it gets beat up. And I say that at all my talks. My last talk, hopefully you can come in New York, right, is at the Leica Gallery. And it is about making books and photography. So, one of the things I say is it will get beat up. It will, I do want a coffee stain on it, like that's rock and roll, and it will change over time. And I hope it's something that can sit on the table and just always be picked up and will change over time as people pick it up and read it. There's a lot in there to read. Also, I tell my story, and I tell a little bit of the story of some of the bands, and then I also talk about the process of photography, weaving through there. So hopefully there's something for everybody.
The way it looks, and I don't have my copy yet, but I will be getting it this weekend. It definitely looks like if you left that book there on a table, somebody would have to pick it up and check it out.
Yeah.
Like it just has that
Yeah.
appeal. Like
It's
I could,
like,
yeah, like what is that? What
woo!
is in that? What is in that book? And
Yeah.
I hope everyone grabs a copy of it. And like you mentioned, you're going to be at Leica this weekend, November 22nd in New York City,
Yep. At
doing another.
11 a.m. And we're asking people to RSVP, just to try to keep track of how many books we need to have there. But, obviously you can still just walk in. But I think we have 50 seats. And I have links on my Bootsy Holler, Instagram. There's a link in my profile that takes you straight to the RSVP, if they know they want to come and bring a friend. And so it'll probably be, and I have a couple music people that are going to be there with me also talking. So they're a little surprised.
Nice. So that's pretty awesome. So we'll see you Saturday. And if
Yep.
you can't make it out to New York City, you can always get a copy right on your link on your Instagram,
Yep.
Bootsy Holler, right on Instagram. And also they're on sale at the Monty Books right now. I think you could order it right from there, right?
Yeah. So if you're in Europe, you'd probably want to go over and get it from them. But here you can get it from uh I have links on my website also that take you to Skylight Books in LA or Third Place Books in Seattle. They're carrying copies. And then mine are just getting out of customs right now. So I'm gonna have my own, chunk that people can always buy from me. And artbook.com is they're the distributor, so they also have copies, and all that stuff you can get to if you go to my website or my Instagram.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate you coming on Punk Rock Photographer tonight, and we
Love
look
it.
forward to seeing you soon. And thank you for sharing all your work and saving your work
Yeah.
so that we could look back upon it. Really appreciate
Yes.
it.
Take care of your hard drives and all your work because you never know what you might do with it later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. You never know. You could be in the next book making it.